Thanks, Richard. I'm just going to bring my screen up here real quickly. Okay, I think we're back in PowerPoint now. So basically, we've built this MART, this optimized MART, very quickly, very efficiently, using the MetricSmart capability. And that MART, of course, will dynamically update and maintain itself over time as new data becomes available. And naturally, we've got to ask ourselves what the next step is. And the next step is to basically use that MART that we've built with MetricSmart to deliver analytical dashboards and reports, in this particular case, through SharePoint. So I'm going to talk quickly here about the latter 2 points on this 3-point slide, the ability to develop native SharePoint dashboards, and then the idea of taking BI and extending it beyond SharePoint. But first, let me touch on the first one here. With respect to native SharePoint dashboards, the basic idea here is that this doesn't have to be a difficult, a time-consuming, or an inefficient process. Altosoft's approach makes it very, very easy, in fact. First, we have the ability to deliver native SharePoint dashboards directly within the SharePoint environment. So we have a drag-and-drop development approach that you'll see that Richard will demonstrate that happens directly within SharePoint itself, and that makes things very easy and very quick in terms of building and deploying these dashboards for SharePoint. Within that environment, individual Altosoft components like charts or graphs plus entire single or multi-page dashboards are simply managed as web parts. So those components are based on Flash. They're fully interactive. They're fully drillable for slicing, dicing, and other data exploration. And basically that just makes it easy to build a very rich environment for data visualization, for monitoring and display directly within SharePoint. And of course, all of this takes full advantage of SharePoint's user management and security features, as well as other portal features of SharePoint, including collaboration component. So it incorporates not just the Altosoft capabilities, the Altosoft dashboards or components, but also makes full use of the SharePoint environment. The next step here is expanding BI beyond the SharePoint environment to take advantage of the capabilities of other Microsoft elements, including browser-based delivery. So here, the idea here is to be able to integrate suppliers, customers, and partners with a fully web-based dashboard and report delivery capability. And the key benefit here, of course, is that there's no additional work that's required. We start, again, with full web browser-based dashboard and report delivery. And once we've built those reports in SharePoint, or those dashboards in SharePoint, we can just flip a switch, and we can deliver those natively over the web using a standard web browser. And to extend the solution into other environments as well, we offer direct integration with Microsoft Office. Here you can see a screenshot of how we're incorporated directly into the ribbon toolbar of Microsoft Excel, so that we can easily enable users to access the calculated KPI metrics that we create directly from this ribbon toolbar. So to quickly conclude here, we take the headache out of SQL Server-based data integration and aggregation. We make rapid development and deployment of SharePoint-based dashboards and reports very easy. And finally, we enable you to leverage that work that you've done to proliferate BI to a wider audience as you see fit, without the limitations of SharePoint necessarily, even though, of course, you could take full advantage of SharePoint as well. And we do that through dashboard-based or browser-based delivery, through native Office integration, and as Richard mentioned as he was demonstrating the MetricSmart solution, through other mechanisms like web services as well. So let me turn it back over to Richard here, and he's going to demonstrate some of the capability for building dashboards directly within SharePoint. And Richard, you now have control.
Okay, thank you very much. So what I've just done is I've gone to an environment where I have SharePoint set up, and what I'll do is show you how I can leverage a MetricSmart like we just built within the SharePoint environment. So here we are looking at some page set up, in this case, show a calendar. But I also have access from here to going into my own dashboard design from within SharePoint. So here's a page set up to allow me to design a dashboard. And point being that you don't need to go out to any other external tool. There's no software that needs to be loaded. There's nothing that has to be done outside of SharePoint in order to allow you to both build dashboards as well as to view dashboards. So for instance, what I'm seeing here is just a blank dashboard that shows me a series of components for displaying data. a header area, a menu area, then the main body. And if I want to create a dashboard, what I'll do here is to move things around a little, just give myself more screen real estate. But then if I've got things such as revenue, and I want to look at revenue over time, a good way of doing that is with a line graph. So I'll drag one out. And at its basis, all I really need to do is specify what is the metric that I'm interested in. Well, here I want to see revenue, and here are the three dimensions we chose: city, country, and employee. And again, if someone later says, yeah, but I want to see if my product category, it's trivially easy to add that into this environment or any other new dimension or data source. I'll just verify the time period I'm looking at here. We're looking at 1 year's worth of data aggregated by month. And I can say finish. So now I've got a simple line chart showing my revenue over time. Let's take it just a little bit further. Now if I'm looking at this data here, which is showing me my revenue, often what you might want to do is say, well, I'd like to see revenue against expenses, or I'd like to see revenue against forecast. I only took the time to create one metric here. So let's create another series, which in this case is another line on this chart. But in this series, I'm going to, again, look at revenue, because the only one I got, but let's look at last year's revenue. If you want to compare with a previous time period in our environment, all you need to do is select Show History and give how far you want to shift it. I'm going to shift this by 1 year. So now I'm looking at revenue for this year against revenue for last year. All right, but what if I want to do something different? I want to look at who are my top employees. Well, that's a good instance for a pie chart. So if I want to say, well, who are my top employees in terms of revenue, I again focus on my revenue metric. But here I say for employees, I don't want to look at all of them. Maybe I want to look at my top 6 employees in terms of revenue. And we'll just call this, and now when I say finish, you'll see a pie chart that focuses on showing me just the top performers based on whatever metrics I've selected. So this might be my revenue page, but someone might want to see more details. They want to see this broken down to all the rows and columns of number. Well, we can always create multiple different levels here. So I'm going to create another level called Details. And in the Details page, maybe I want to look at something such as a time grid, which says break down the revenue by a time and show me all the details. In this case, I'll probably look at it again per month. So I can say I want to look at my revenue and we'll call this total revenue. Now in this case, multiple data series are not 2 lines on a line chart, but multiple columns in a table. So let me create another column. In addition to the totals, I want to see this broken down by employee. So I can say for employee, create a column for each one, so now I've got it broken down by employee. We're going to be looking at, again, a year's worth of data, broken down, aggregated by month, and there's a drill down option here. In other words, this is going to show me when I want to drill down from one level of the table to another and keep expanding it, what am I going to see first? Well, this is a time grid. Initially, I see broken by month. But then I see all of the dimensions that I created back in Studio when I defined this metric. And the point of this is that in Studio, you create all the dimensions, and then you can use only the ones you want and whatever order you want within all the different dashboarding tools. So if I want to see it broken down by country, I'll move country up. And then within a country, I want to see it broken by city. And then maybe I don't need to see it by employee, so I'll turn that off. So now I'm going to be able to see it by city and by country. And if I want someone to be able to drill down to the low-level events that made up these aggregate statistics, I can turn that on and say they should be allowed to see the order event with all of its fields. Or I can say, well, you know, they actually don't need to see the city, and they don't need to see the country. And if you wanted, you can also turn off any other field. So if there's sensitive data and you want them to see part of it but not all of it, it's easy enough to set up in this environment.